I was sitting there watching YouTube, and it kind of hit me that what you choose to watch kind of determines your happiness. There's a negative side of YouTube, and there's a real positive side of YouTube. And one of the things that I did, I woke up one morning and I came across a really positive side of YouTube, talking about couples that had met and within 5 months got married. And then I was seeing a lot of positivity. But there's a larger, more negative side of YouTube. One of the things that you will consistently see on YouTube is men are avoiding women. Yet, out here in the real world, you see men and women together every day. But in the YouTube world, men have gone off. Men are living in caves. Men are not dating women. They're not talking to women. They're going off about their business. And that is one of the most absurd things I've ever heard, but it's a constant narrative on YouTube. Literally, men, and this is what I think. I think there's a group of broken men and a group of broken women who are preaching their narrative in an echo chamber. Here's the thing. We all get hurt. We get in relationships. Sometimes things just don't go well. And then we end up being hurt. That's a reality. But part of that reality is, do we choose to stay hurt and just stay in that spot? Or do we like, okay, I learned that this isn't for me. Years and years ago, I was at, it was not a support group. It was a mandatory court class for separated couples. And the guy was talking about, how couples and therapy and how people, because this is something that's really funny, and you won't hear it on YouTube. There's a group of people who get married for the second time, and the second time sticks because this person has worked on themselves and this person is much better than the person they were when they got married the first time. You'll never hear that on YouTube. And the reason that these people have a successful second marriage is they've made fundamental change. Now, this is one of the things that I'm consistently seeing on YouTube. There was someone who, Shan Boudry, she has these shows where she talks to women, and there's this narrative of women are going to be really happy, they're not going to have children, they're going to move forward, and they're going to get old, and then they'll come and talk about how great their life is, right? How they are doing fine, they don't have a man, things are just really, really good. I'm going to tell you a story that may contrast that. Growing up as a child, I used to go out and visit old people. I spent a lot of time with old people. And there was one of our neighbors, Miss Sally Mae Jones. And I would go visit her. And Sally Mae Jones was an older woman. Honestly, I don't really know if she had a lot of friends. Because, we lived here and she lived right next to us. And I would go down there and visit her. And I remember it was in my high school years, and there was a time, because what happened is, as I grew and started to do more stuff, my visits became less frequent. And there was one time I visited her, and the woman literally talked to me at the door for 5 minutes. It was like she didn't want to let me go. So the case of Sally Mae Jones, who was a woman who didn't have children, her husband, Mr. Jones, had died years prior. And I saw all of these changes. So from real life example, if you do not make having a relationship a priority, if it's not a priority, this is what's facing you. And I can have all of these people come up with these narratives talking about how great it is to be single, how happy they are, they're traveling, they're doing all this other stuff. I think that's a false assumption. based upon the reality of living life as a person. Because, traveling is fun. I've traveled quite a bit. Doing different stuff is fun. But I just don't think that you're going to get to be a certain age and you're going to look back at your life and be happy. Another point, I'm going to tell you another story. Years and years ago, I used to work in the hospital. And sometimes when you go into an elderly person's room, they may be in a state of dementia or they may be out of it. And I noticed this thing that happened over and over again. These people would be talking about the regrets they had and the things that they did not do. There were not a lot of regrets for doing something and making mistakes. There was a ton of regret for the things they did not do. I remember this one old woman, she must have been 90 years old, and she was talking, and she was in a state of dementia, and she kept saying, I wish I had children. I wish I had children. And she had a family member in there, and I was like, oh man, she's in a bad way. And the family member was like, yeah, she never got married, she never had kids. And the family member said, I think that really bothered her a lot. And this one family member had to be like in her 70s, right? And I'm just sitting there like, so you're having a bunch of women who are telling you that they want the perfect relationship. I'm in a situation where I'm an older man. I'll be 60 this year, and my girlfriend is 29. And you see a lot of women like, I don't want to be with an older man. I don't want to be a caretaker. And you see this all over the place that people will not enter into a relationship of what could potentially happen in the future. Because this is the thing. I had to have open heart surgery, and I was in a rehab home. And there was a young man in there, really young. The side of his head was crushed in. He had gotten in a very, very bad motorcycle accident. He was in a wheelchair. He had a lot of issues. This man was married. This man had children. And he was in his home. And I noticed his wife did not visit a lot, nor did she bring the kids. So he was a young woman who had a man that she could not take care of. She could not take care of this man. And he was in this home. And he would be in our room because he was friends with my roommate. And they would talk and they would have these ideals and concepts and stuff. But this was a really young man that had gotten himself in a really bad situation because I'm going to say something. Long time ago, I wanted to ride a motorcycle. And I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it. But after working in the hospital for years and years and seeing what happens to people who get in accidents on motorcycles, it ain't for me. Because the chances of you being in a bad motorcycle accident and having life-threatening injuries, if you live, are very, very high. So I don't ride a bike. I'm just sticking to cars. And I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that because I have seen what happens to people who ride motorcycles. And, as a kid, I remember doing crazy stuff. We had this hill, and it used to be on the bike. And this hill went like this. You could cross it and it goes down there. And you get on it and you hit your bike and you would be moving, really, really moving. And I did that stuff. And then I remember another guy, he was on the bike and the bike hit a rock, threw him off. He split his tongue in half and he had injuries for years. So doing this risky stuff can be fun. It can be exciting. But if it goes wrong, it can be really disastrous. But, back on the central topic, this number of people, men and women, who are talking about they're happier being single. I don't really buy that. I don't really believe that. I am not thinking that that's going to be something durable. I'm not thinking that this is going to be the way that the world operates in the future for these people. I just don't believe that picking to be single and actually digging into that single life and refusing to prioritize relationships is going to be good for a lot of people when they really get old. I just don't believe it. And this is one of the things I'm seeing on the positive side of YouTube. People have said, hey, I want to make a relationship a priority. I want to be in a relationship. I want to have a relationship. And then you have a lot of YouTube talking about how bad it, like there's one channel. The guy did a really good job. He puts up these videos and his commentary was good. Then I literally will have to stop listening to some of his videos because I don't agree with the sentiment. And I'm just sitting there like, you know, it's a men's channel and it's just talking about how men are walking away, how men are finding themselves to be more attractive when they reach a certain age because the pool of men that want to be with women shrinks. Like essentially there's one video, if you're a 40-year-old man and you find that the women are more responsive, more attractive to you, it was pretty much don't believe the hype because literally this woman's pool of suitors has shrunk and you're just a resentment type choice. And I've seen what happens when men resent women. I had a friend years and years ago, she was talking about all these men are with women they don't want to be with. And it's true. As a man, when you're not with a woman you want to be with, you will not claim her as your girlfriend. You will not be proud of her. You will not show her off. You will not do any of this stuff. And then when you have someone as a woman who's not your first pick, even though you're with this man, you resent the fact that you had to descend down to this person and the relationship isn't as good as it should be because the woman didn't get her first pick and she's very unhappy with who she chose. And you see the resentment from the men being with women they really don't want to be with. And you see the resentment from women being with men they don't want to be with. And it's like, I settled. And it's really, really interesting thing to observe. And it's really an interesting thing to look at because one of the things that I have found myself out, because I have multiple channels, and as a man, I have never gotten with a woman that I didn't want to be with. I would say in recent times, going back, there was one chick and it was the dynamic that pulled me to her. It wasn't the relationship, it was the dynamic. And the dynamic was she made herself available to me in so many ways because this would be me kind of coming into an element of power. I met her on the dating app, plentyoffish.com. And Plenty of Fish was really interesting. And I was talking to her and another girl who's a nurse at South Fulton Hospital. I was supposed to meet up with her and something happened and she couldn't meet up. So I had favored this other girl, right? And the girl was like, oh, me, you favored me and everything. So we go on a date and everything. And she comes up and I remember to this day how she was dressed. Short bob haircut, big chest, huge chest, a little mini skirt and some thigh-high boots on it. And we go out and she's sexy to me. And at that point I said, I want to have sex with you tonight. That's not exactly what I said. So I go to her house and, you know, we stop at Walmart, get some condoms, and she's still out there. And I go to her house and I spend the night. And oddly enough, she was a little crazy, just a little bit crazy, right? And then I just noticed that regardless of what I could do, she would always be there. I remember we had gotten in a fight, and this was after she had bought me a car. She had bought me a car, and then we got in a fight, and then she was sending me all these angry texts and stuff. And I was like, you just want me to come over and, what did I say exactly? It was something like, you just want me to come over and use you. And then the response I get from her was, ... maybe. And I was like, okay. So I told her what I wanted her to do. And the whole time I'm driving up there, I was like, she will not be there. She ain't gonna do it. And I get to her house, and then I pull up to her garage, and the garage door starts going up, and there she is. And she became the girl that would do anything whenever I wanted. And it was kind of exhilarating. But she was not someone that I would showcase or present as a girlfriend. And that kind of put me in that territory of dealing with a woman from a sexual standpoint that I did not want to show off or parade or put her out as a girlfriend. And that's the first and the last time I ever did that. First and the last time I ever did that. And to this day, I look at it was the power aspect that got me, but from the public aspect, I didn't want to show her off. I didn't want to be with her in that way. And I've never done that again. I have never done that again, because one side of it's fun, but another side is treacherous. And part of being happy is being true to yourself and literally working on the things that you need to work on to actually be happy with who you are. And this is the whole theme of this channel. This is the happy channel, where I talk about positive things and stuff like that. So there is a positive side of YouTube, and there's a very warm and welcoming side of YouTube. And if you want to open yourself up to it, it's available for you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions, and I'll see you guys in the next video.